Hey, how's everybody doing? We are live. I hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. We made it to yet another week. I'm starting early because I may finish early. I'm not sure, but definitely wanted to go ahead and hang out and talk with you all and get started early, rather than later. I think that would be great. So today was a nice day. Patty, how you doing? All the way from Illinois. How's it going? Great to see you. We have Kyle all the way from Pennsylvania. Great to see you, Kyle. So wonderful. We have two great people here already. So, I'm early, you're early, we're all early, and that makes me happy. So that's great. I'm going to make her just a little bit lighter. And let me make sure I'm in focus. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come over here. I think she's in focus, but let's hit the autofocus. And then we could make sure that it's autofocused. And then we know very well that she's in focus now. So that's great. Mr. Dwayne! Great to see you, San Luis de Obispo. How's everything? Go Mustangs, not banana slugs. So glad you're here. Oh, Kyle, what are you doing in Jersey? How cool is that? Are you in South Jersey or North Jersey? So that's great. That's my state. I was born and raised in Jersey. Moved around a little bit, but pretty much most of the time in Jersey. And it's great to see you, Patty. Great to see you, Dwayne and Kyle. You guys are all great. Thank you so much for hanging. And let's see. What I'm going to do is probably start working a little bit more on her jacket. Rick Lotta, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. Great to see you from Canada. That's great. And we got Astral all the way from the UK. Great to see you, Astral. How are you? How's your son doing in Japan? Is winter over there? I'm sure it is, right? But that's great. It's great to see you, sir. So glad you're here. And that is great. So we are going to basically continue with this portrait. Oh, right next to Staten Island. Okay, by Bayonne, right? Right around there. I used to work in Jersey City for about 10 years. And I know that area very well, right by Staten Island. So what we're going to do is I am going to kind of deepen some of the shadows in her jacket. I think that would be good. So let me see. So I have to go a little bit deeper. So I'm going to color pick the darks, the darker areas. Little part-time job training. Perfect. That's amazing. I know you'll do great in anything you put your mind to, sir. Dwayne says, glad to make it. It's been busy Wednesday nights. Oh, I'm so glad you're here, but busy's good. That means you're making the money, right, my friend? So that makes me happy. And I'm just going to make sure I go a little bit darker. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Get our DNA. And the other part of our color. Okay. All right, so it's a lot of hue, which is good. Okay, so let's go ahead and mix that color together. And I'm going to get one of my cups and we'll mix it. Dan, how's it going all the way from Indiana? Great to see you. How's everything? Where my son, it is warming up. Snow has melted. Very cool, Astral. Very cool. So I have some of my orange, which I'm going to mix with red. Dave the Bug Gregory, how's it going? Great to see you, sir. And Dave's a member, so he has that special star. So thanks so much, Dave, for being a member. That is just so fantastic. I appreciate you, sir. And now we're going to come in with some red. I got to actually mix some more red. Let's see. I am out of red in my mixture bottles. So for now, I'm going to have to actually just use regular old everyday red out of the bottle. Wicked, of course. And a little 4011 because it's coming out of the bottle. It's not pre-mixed. The Star of David for David. That is so poignant. Yes, very true. And now all I need is my plastic palette knife, which is right in front of me. I just don't see it. Let's see. So until I find it, I'll use the back of a paintbrush. So I have like a red-orange, which is really important. Michael McClung, how's it going? Only like less than a month until your happy retirement, and then you can start being a full-time artist. So that's exciting. So I'm looking forward to you being a full-time artist. I'm sure you are as well, sir. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of bringing this to our darker color. So remember that you want to put your weaker color in first and then add your darker color. Your not necessarily darker color but more powerful color, because if you go in the other direction, you're going to be playing catch up and you're going to be wasting paint. So like right here, that's too dark. So rather than me trying to bring that up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my lighter color, and then I'll ease in my darker color. And so Dan's doing well. That's good. Glad to hear it. So mixing my lighter color or weaker color and then adding this darker color to it. And that looks very close to what I'm looking for. So that's good. So when you're mixing color, you want to make sure that you have enough saturation, you don't kill it. Mr. Gary, how's it going all the way from Pennsylvania? Great to see you, sir. And I want this to flow nicely. So the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is get rid of the India ink that's in my airbrush currently. So glad to see you, Mr. Gary. 20 work days. Holy Toledo. That's amazing, my friend. That's really close. Are you feeling a little bit nostalgic about it, or are you just totally happy? Love to hear your thoughts. So now that I mixed my color, we're going to put on my glasses. Okay, now let's move this out of the way. Colette, how you doing? Also a member. Great to see you, Colette. How is everything? Mr. Michael McClung, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. That is so appreciated. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So what I'm doing now, this is really saturated, and Michael, thank you so much for your your friendship and your support, sir. It really means a lot. Thank you, sir. And just deepening some of these shadows, which I will actually go over it with a little bit of gray just to calm it down and hit this dark here. So I'm slowly building these values here, but not trying to be a cowboy. So Colette, all the way from the Atlanta area, so great to see you, Colette. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for being a member. So one of the great things about the membership is that there's going to be special live streams just for members, and it starts as low as $9.99, and you get special live streams every week, and you also get recorded videos, and you get access to the older videos, which is great. And so that's fantastic. So if anyone wants to become a member, please do. That would be fantastic. It would really help the channel out. And I'm deepening here as well, right over here. And what I'm going to do is put my magnet so it doesn't move. And remember, you can always lower the saturation, but raising the saturation is really important. If you have to raise a saturation, it's going to have a hard time. But lowering the saturation is a lot easier. So always keep that in mind. Michael says, yeah, I'm just looking forward to not being tied down to anything. Everything will be on your time. That's great, sir. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Right here, I'm going to put down the saturation first, and then we'll kind of calm down the saturation after. And, you know, her coat has to have 3 dimensions. The further away, the lighter the spray. If you want it softer, you just have to go lighter and further away, which is the same thing. So, Mr. Dave, how's life in Texas, sir? So great to see you. I know you've been traveling all last week, so you must be a little bit jet lagged, huh? Oh my God! Thank you so much, Michael, for becoming a friend and patron. That is just so amazing. I promise that those who are my members, I am going to be giving you guys a lot. You know, it's going to be above and beyond. That's my goal. So, you know, there's going to be live streams. There's going to be extra recorded videos and giveaways and stuff like that. So thank you so much, Mr. Michael. I appreciate that more than you know. That is such good news and so encouraging to me. Thank you, sir. So I did find my freehand shield. That's one thing I did find today. And oh, great, you're back in PA. Say hi to everybody for me. Maria, Joseph, Chloe, and especially Abigail, which she's probably not awake right now. And now I'm just going to darken this area right here. There we go. See, I'm just trying to... Oh, everyone, everyone is in bed. Oh, man. Everyone's early to rise, right, sir? And thank you for staying up for the live stream. I appreciate that. Not that you're staying up for the live stream, but thank you for being up during the live stream. I'm grateful for that. Oh, look at that. Michael enjoys having his name in green. That's always a plus. Yes, the green team. Now right here, I'm going to just kind of hit this. So what a great group. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to hang out with me on the live stream. It means so much. It's the kindness that I appreciate, and I really do appreciate your kindness for hanging out. So now I want to desaturate that, and remember I had that too dark color? That makes me think. So yes, almost match your sweat. That's true, sir. So I'm going to do a one airbrush kind of day. So I'm going to dump this out. Now remember, I'm going with a darker color that's in the same family. So I don't really have to clean out the airbrush. So know when you don't have to clean out the airbrush. If I had a darker color, even if it was in the same family and I was coming in with the lighter color, then you would have to clean out that airbrush because that darker color will dominate. But the lighter color that's in the airbrush will be a nice transition for the darker color that's in the same family. So I hope that makes sense. You know, as less cleanup as possible, right? So it's a way of you realizing that you don't have to go ahead and clean that up. Okay, so always test on a post-it note or something. So I think we're doing pretty good. Yes, so we're good. Make sure we just blow out anything that might be in there. Okay, so now we have this darker kind of grayer color, and we can see how we can kind of lower that saturation a little bit. There we go. See how that kind of calms it down, but not as calm as we want to make it. We can actually go even darker. And this is where the freehand shields would come in well. And kind of push that down. And now it's getting deeper. We put this here. And when you're doing stuff like this, you really want to make sure that the dissipation is slow, right? You don't want hard edges where there aren't any. It's okay if you have soft edges where there aren't any. You can always come in and harden them up, but the other way around, just like saturation, is more difficult. So you want to make sure that, you make sure that what you do, you can adjust easily. So you always keep that in mind. And see how the freehand shield kind of helps that edge, because remember, the adjacent shape often describes the shape more than the shape itself. And I know you heard me say that over and over again, and I will say it over and over again because it's so important. It was important for me to get my arms around that. And right over here we have this beautiful edge. And see how I'm keeping the color, but I'm slowly lowering that saturation. Right here we're going to keep the color, but we're just going to lower that saturation, quiet down the energy, right? So think of it that way, of energy. Right up here. So these are really great because eventually you'll find your edge. See how I got that edge right there? Wipe it off because you don't want to reposition wet paint. Airbrush is the best tool to get dissipation of energy. See how we have more energy and it kind of just gets less and less. And oh, great. So Michael sent a picture. So a little bit later we're going to look at Michael's painting, and that's going to be great. Be great to see that. Then right here, we don't want it to cross into the sleeve. So at this late stage, you won't see me use too many stencils at this stage. I'm just going to pretty much just paint. And I'm going to take some of my black tea with lemon. Oh, that's good. Okay. And still control your distance. That's going to control just how dark everything is, right? Lighter the spray, further away. So if I'm further away, I'm going to get nice and light. If I'm really close, it's going to be dark and intense. So those are decisions that you make, you know. Now, right underneath her cuff here, we're going to, and the great thing is you'll find your edge, like I always say. Find your edge. It's almost like a motivational thing. And see how I'm getting that edge of her cuff there. The texture of the sweater is amazing. Tone, how you doing? All the way from New York. How's it going? Great to see you, my friend. Love the portrait you're doing. Really great work. See how I'm careful not to not to go ahead and cross my dark. So a lot of times you'll hear me say perpendicular and not parallel is very important, and that's in this case as well. There we go. And so now I'm setting up for even going darker. But let's go ahead and take a look at Mr. Mr. Michael's painting, which I know of, which is really great. Tone, were you under the weather? Oh man, I had that a couple of months ago, about a month ago. That was the worst, man. Now I'm juicing and exercising and really trying to stay on top of that, be more preemptive, So let's go over here, and I have my painting of Mr. Michael here, and we'll download that. And let me make sure we download it. Okay, great. So now I'll come over to my program. And there we go. Okay, let's bring in Mr. Michael's picture. Image. Okay, this is an airbrush painting, which is really great by Michael. And Michael, tell us a little something about this painting. Love to hear. A lot of really great things going on with it, and so, tell us something about this painting. Oh my God, walking pneumonia, that's so scary, man. Oh man, so I'm so glad you're okay and you pulled through. That's just frightening on so many levels, sir. So I'm just so glad you're okay, my friend. Yeah, Tone says nice work. Michael says that he's using HD stencils, which is really cool. That helped you to get the grass and things like that, right? So Tone, I just make sure you're okay, and take it easy, sir, and that's important. So really wonderful the way you did the colors and the face, the hand, the colors that you use are really fantastic. Great detail and vivid colors, Michael says, so that's great. Yes, definitely, I agree. And I love the sky. The sky's really fantastic, and added a little bit of different things in it. Yeah, Dwayne says it's really nice. Tone says not his first time with that. So thank God you're okay, sir. Yeah, it seems like the colds, when people get them nowadays, they're just so much worse. Well, I had COVID, so that sucked. I had it for the second time in a year, and that just knocks you out, And my voice is the first thing that goes away. So thank you, Michael, for sharing your painting. And I love to see your work. And Dave the Bug Gregory with the super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your support and being a member and your friendship. It's just amazing. And oh, the leaves. Yes. So the leaves are just incredible. That's the thing that would have gotten me, Oh, the falling leaves. Let's see. Oh, over here. Yes, I see them all the way over to the right. Very cool. And definitely. So, and Mr. Dave, thank you again so much. So that's just incredible. So, I went to, well, actually, let me go ahead and paint, and I'll talk about my day today. So we'll go ahead and thank you, sir. I appreciate that so much. And back to our regularly scheduled programming. So now I'm going to look and make sure that I desaturated everything I have to actually to darken with saturation. Then I can come in and gray it down even more. Yes, Colette says she loves your painting, which is fantastic. And see how I just darken that just a little bit, and that's going to bring her cuff. a little further. There we go, which is great. And Dave says, just following Michael's lead. Much appreciated, sir. And okay, so now I want to desaturate this even more. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add a gray to desaturate that even more. So let's make this happen, my friends. I have to order more of these cups tonight. More of these bottles for the inks and also for the colors. So everyone, I have been using the 6000 to clear my aluminum panels, and it's really been great. I'm really happy with it. It's fantastic to work with. I got paint on my hand, so I'm going to use a baby wipe. Baby wipes are the best, I think. Oh, Michael says, thanks for all your encouragement. Thanks for sharing your work, my friend. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to add some 4011 because I want it to be kind of diluted, because I don't want it to cover. I want it to be basically a kind of scumbling, because you can't really glaze a darker color on a lighter color. So I'm just going to kind of dull it down a little bit. So again, we have this darker saturated color, so I don't really have to clean it out. It's good to have a little bit of that saturation in the dark, so we're just going to put some of this gray in here. And just slowly. Michael says, Tim, I'm thinking about using the 6000 on a piece of glass and do artwork so you could see through it like stained glass. I want to show you something I did. This was on a mirror, and I didn't even, so this is an oil painting on a mirror. And I didn't even spray the 6000 on the mirror. I actually just went ahead and brushed it on several coats and then lightly sanded it. And then I worked in oils on top. So you definitely can do that. I recommend probably, I would try a mirror first because you have some backing to it. And then go from there. See if you like that kind of translucency. And then maybe go from there and you know, try the glass. But I would try a mirror first to see how you like working on glass, you know. So that's my only advice. I mean, you know, that's a great thing about advice. It's free, you know. Okay. So, been working with one airbrush today. And you see now we have this gray here, and we're going to be deepening the desaturation. And what we're also doing is we are actually lowering the energy. And it's interesting because this, I feel that it is actually giving the jacket a lot less, a lot softer feel. You kind of feel the texture of it. So now I just have to find my freehand shield, which was just here. Oh, here we go. All right, we have a hard edge here. There we go, and then we have this dark coming down here. Perpendicular and not parallel, so you keep that dark. and you don't get any overspray. Michael says he's going to use Candy 2.0 over it because he wants to put in the window so you can see outside as well. Make sure you get the bleed checker. That's very important, so you don't want that to bleed, you know. And Dave says, might need to think through the layers of it, Michael, like an RC body. Dave says he doesn't know if it will have the effect you think it will. It's an interesting project. Look forward to seeing it. Great insight, Dave. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's going to be different, right? And it's definitely an experimental piece, right, Michael? So that's great. But definitely the 6,000 is the way to go because you want to keep that clear, right? And you see here, I'm just going to desaturate this color. Further away, lighter the spray, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Right under here, I'm going to darken this. Right in here, it's desaturated, so we'll get rid of some of the saturation. Maybe pinstripe between colors. Look at that. That's great. Pure experimental, that's what it's going to be, Michael says. I don't necessarily have anything invested in it. Oh, yeah. So it's Autoborn Sealer 6000 tone. And it's like a ground. You know, you put it on anything to accept the acrylic, accept paint. It also accepts oil paint, and it's really great. It's very universal, but it's clear, so you're not getting rid of your artwork, or, you know, whatever you have underneath will stay, which is really good. And you see how I'm darkening just slightly, but also killing any oversaturation. And of course, it's always a work in progress. You're never working to complete it, you're only working to advance it. Completing it will take care of itself. And since I'm here, I might as well work on the strap of her bag. So I'll work on one side, then I'll work on the other side. Here we go. Found that edge rather nicely. Thank you very much. Let's see. So here I don't want to go into the background, so I'm going to do perpendicular. Brad, how's it going? Great to see you, sir. So glad you're here. How are you? And so thank you for that. Patty says she wishes she could stay longer but needs to get some shut-eye. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Patty, take care of yourself. Always a pleasure. Michael says he just got to remember it's going to be reverse step process. Oh, so tell me about the reverse step process. What does that mean? So perpendicular and not parallel here, because I don't want to cross cross over into my background, right? So that's so great. Can you use Autoborn Sealer on ceramic tiles? Anything. You can use Autoborn Sealer on anything. I've done it on mirrors. I've done it on aluminum, on wood. I mean, no matter what it is. Steve Leahy did it on a cue ball, and he painted on that. He even does it on those plastic evil bunnies that he does. So yeah, the Autoborn Sealer, if you can spray on it, but you have to scuff it first, right? So if you're doing ceramic, make sure that you take some Scotch-Brite, and then you want to make sure you scuff off any shine. So, and also make sure it has some tooth to it. That's why you scuff it, so it'll accept the Autoborn Sealer, you know. And so that's great. Thanks, Patty, for hanging. I appreciate you. Okay, so when you're doing this, it's okay to move your painting around. I'm not on an easel, so I can do this. One of the few advantages of working flat. And I don't work flat. I was trained to work on an easel. However, I'm teaching, so I need to work flat. But this is where working flat goes to my benefit, right? So that's good to know. So in the regular live streams, I won't be talking too much about the Photonic Realism. That will be mostly for the group, because that's, you know, that's deeper stuff. Not everybody wants to hear the deep stuff. So that would be for the members live streams and the members videos. So it's just a deeper dive into my teaching methods. There we go. And so now you see it starts, and then I can probably come in with a black, you know, eventually. But this is just to begin the process. Right in here, it's nice and dark. Little by little, that's it, you know, little by little her coat is starting. Biggest thing about painting backwards on a clear surface is that there are little to no do-overs. Wow. That's something to think about, Michael, right? Because I know Dwayne does a lot of stuff like that. He has incredible knowledge of murals and working with Wicked. And we're going to deepen the shape of her sweater here. See how we're deepening that? So it's a winter's day, and Persephone is cold on this subway, so she's bundled up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we'll come in with some paintbrush techniques. Everybody loves paintbrush techniques. And I got this great paintbrush right here from a good friend. And we're going to make this happen with the wet palette, your friend and mine. And let's see if we can just kind of reinforce some of these threads here. This might be make sure my wet palette is wet. There we go. Okay, that's what we want. Same thing here. We have this coming down. May have to do a couple of passes. So another thing which people use the 6000 for Mr. Tone is when you want to lock down. So let's say, you know, you have a color and you want to lock that down, then you would spray it again with the 6000 because it's nice and clear. So in case, you know, if it falls or anything like that, you lock in that color. If you need, also when you put the like let's say I was going to do, after this I was going to go ahead and do some masking with Frisket, I would spray it with 6000 to lock that up, so lock that down, so when I put Frisket on it, when I lift it, I won't lift up paint. So that's another good reason for using 6000, which is the clear Autoborn sealer. It comes in different colors. I don't see the need for different colors as much as the 6000 seems to be, you know, your go-to. You know, you can always put down a color and put the clear 6000 over that, you know. Right here, kind of accentuate this. And I'm using that same dark gray that I was using before. So like this very light color I'm using, I definitely would want 6000. It is flat because this is 6000, and it did what I do. I sprayed the 6000, and then I just used some Scotch-Brite and I just kind of scuffed up after the fourth layer. So let me see what it says here. So it just says Autoborn Sealer. So this is it, Autoborn Sealer 6000. And it's the clear. And it says apply directly to properly sanded or scuffed surfaces, existing finishes, primer surface on aluminum, plastic, vinyl, wood, glass. Hear that? On glass, and you can do it on glass. So listen to that, Michael. Uses foundation as hard surfaces. All water-based paints may be applied over Autoborn sealers 30 minutes after application. So that's good. Apply 2 to 3 coats. Allow each coat to dry matte before applying. So it is a matte. It's not shiny. So that's good to know. However, this stuff right here, which is UVLS gloss, that you would put over the 6000 to make it nice and glossy. So, and correct me, anyone, if you know otherwise, and that's okay. There are people who are more knowledge than me, but I'm getting there. And we're just going to establish this hard edge a little bit better. But the Autoborn Sealer 6000, that's the stuff, buddy. That's the stuff. So, highly recommend it. I'm doing it for a portrait commission right now in oils. So I'm using the 6000 on aluminum to paint in oils. So think about how cool that is. It's very similar to what Shellac does. You know, those who have been following me know that when I work on paper, I'll do the airbrush underpainting with the ink, and then I'll put shellac on it, and that will lock it down for oils, so which is cool. Brad says no reason why I can't use 6000 to prep a rifle scope to do camo design on it. No. Saurus Sit, how's it going? Great to see you. How you been, my friend? So glad you're here. Tone says he has UVLS clear. He's wondering if he can use that on Yupo paper. Yes. One of my students used that for their project, and that's fine. And you can paint on the UVLS clear, definitely. But I definitely would do the 6000. That's what Leahy does, and he swears by it. So he knows what he's doing with his 543s. Get yourself some 6000. That works better than the UVLS clear tone. And I'll tell you, when I work with the 6000, it just feels much better than anything I worked on as far as airbrush is concerned. Anything. Like, really great. So, get yourself, you don't have to get a big bottle. A little bottle will last you a long way. Because you're going to dilute it 25%, right? And then you're going to spray it from there. I do 25%. And so that means 75% of the Autoborn sealer, 25% for, you know, I would do like maybe 1 cup would be all I would need for 3 panels. So that's it. So not bad. Ah, great. Oh, thank you. Sorsit says he's doing great and the portrait's coming along nicely. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm thinking of the final clear. The final clear definitely, you know, you want to do your UVLS clear, right? Gloss, you know. That's good. A lot of people do that. If you want that glossiness, of course. And you can see that the coat's coming along nicely, you know, slowly but nicely. I'm taking my time. And I think I'm going to chill on the coat for a while. But let's think of this thing. What if, here's a what if. What if we decided to just erase a little bit and see what that does? I want to erase some of the lights here. But you got to be careful with this because you can go right down to the all the way down to the white of the panel, so you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to very lightly see how I'm bringing up some of the lighter color on the jacket, which is being affected by the direct light hitting her. So that's cool. Brad says, what about 6011, the tan sealer, in order to get a tan base? Yeah, you know what? I honestly think that for me, I use clear and white, and it's always good to have a white base because for me, I'm talking about being a portrait painter. The white base is good because you get more clarity and you get more of that light coming, you know, which I enjoy. I enjoy the feeling of the light. So I'm going to do little circles trying to get a little bit of texture here. Then right on the bottom, let's see if we can get an aggressive. Now you can go aggressive with your erasers. That's nice. So that I like that. just when you're doing it, make sure you make a mental note. Okay, I'm only going to erase the paint on a certain level. Brad, you get a tanning booth. That's pretty funny. Yes, and I could see that, Brad. I definitely can see that reasoning. That's for sure. I don't see much of a line of light here, but definitely on this far shoulder, I'm definitely going to kind of do a light circular motion here, very light. I don't want to go to all the way to the white of the panel, so I'm just going to be careful and just very light. But you see, I can get that feeling of the light actually hitting this directly on the shoulder of this coat. And it's cool because the circular motion kind of gets the feeling of the texture. I forgot the smiley face. So that's great. I can't wait to see that project there, Mr. Brad. The camo. So working on getting that feeling of this wool coat. I guess it would be wool, right? What do you guys think? The women out there would know. Now you can feel like the coat is a real thing. And bring this down. Right over here, there's a little bit of direct light hitting this area. Let's get a little definition here. Right over there. And I'm happy with with her clothes, right? And then I got to start working on her, getting, the colors in her nose, that sort of thing. A camel hair coat, very cool. Camel hair, is that what it is? That makes sense, though I don't know. And again, just hitting this light on the coat where the coat is facing the light most directly. And remember, you're not painting fold, you're painting light and shade, right? Or even further, you're painting energy. Think about that. So right there, I went a little too far, and I'll be making that adjustment. So you got to be careful. It just means I have to make an adjustment, but you don't want to have to make an adjustment unless it's necessary. So when you're erasing, realize that you're just erasing the outer layer that the darker paint's on. So you want to be super gentle. You can always erase harder if it's not hard enough, but if you go too deeper, you're going to have to fix it. So always know that. And then light's hitting this part of her sleeve. It's a little lighter here, but it's much more subtle, right? It's not like over here. It's more energy, but not as much energy over there. Just more energy in relation to what's next to it. So this is where like my pastel knowledge comes into play. See, right now it's too smooth, and doing these little circular is really giving the feeling of that jacket. Astral says his dad had a camel hair overcoat. It took him years to save up for one. 2 weeks later, someone stole it while he was playing darts match at a pub. Oh man, that's horrible. That's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that about your dad. I'm sure it broke his heart. Saving up all that time for it. So remember, working on something like this, taking your time is, takes patience. And also you got to put other parts of your painting on the back burner sometimes. I'm going to do that here, little circular movements. And this is something I would do in pastel. And it kind of mimics that kind of wool kind of, light hitting it in different spots because it's uneven. And it's really giving me a good precedent to actually have texture in the dark as well. And also I can get slightly lighter and bring some energy into these lower energy areas, which is really advantageous, not only for texture, but also to give the feeling of depth and volume in those shadows. And I can always come in later and, darken it up if it gets too light. Dwayne says pretty much all the sealers are the same, just tinted different. He uses silver, black, white, gray, and clear. Yes, I find that if you want one, I really think that the clear is probably the best to have if you can just have one. Just so how all-purpose it is. Over here, we have a little bit of texture here. So let's work on a little bit of texture here. And then over here as well. So we just passed the first hour of the live stream, which went really well and fast. Definitely it's going for one. If going for one, get clear. So Mr. Dwayne agrees. So that's cool. Astral, Michael says, Astral, it wasn't him, even though he played darts in the pubs. Well, that's good to know there, Mr. Michael, that you didn't steal Astral's dad's jacket. That's always a plus. Some artists will work in the background forward. I just basically work where I feel. Uh, you know, since I worked on I worked on her face, kind of got that down, not done. Her hair, the background, and then I did her sweater, and now we'll just do her jacket and just go from there. And then we could go backwards again. Maybe work on her face a little bit. That won't hurt. So you see how I'm just putting enough pressure to get rid of the outer layer of the paint. So I don't go all the way to the white like I did over there, which I'm going to have to fix. So it's not like the end of the world. You can fix it, but why spend your time fixing things if you can get it right the initial time? So here we have a lighter color, so we're going to be able to get a lighter color, more energy, right? So I'm going to get more energy as well as getting more texture. So I hope this helps your painting out there. If you're working on something with texture, you can say, oh yeah, that's what Tim did. There we go. So I can't have texture here and not there. I got to make sure that I'm getting the texture everywhere. And again, right here we have some nice bright energy here. And you'll hear me talk about energy as opposed to light, which is really important. But if doing projects that need, this is Dwayne, doing projects that need certain background color like black, tan, gray, why spray multiple times when you can just hit it with the sealer in the color you want? Great point, you know? So less coverage, less work, getting it done, getting paid sooner. So that's perfect. Astral says, Michael, it happened at the end of 1978. The thing was, he kept warning me about that sort of thing. Oh man, yes. Poor guy. Poor dad. Did he end up getting one just like it again, or did it just kind of take the wind out of his sail about that jacket? See how we're getting more energy here? And it's not going to translate like that I did all these like little squiggly lines. When you look at it, it really looks like, you know, I'm getting that texture. And I can always dust this over again, right? If I feel that it's a little too squiggly lined kind of thing happening. Add it to the cost of the project and have leftovers. Yes. More energy right here. So before remember, you can always do another layer of you know, erasing. So go too light at first, and you can always do another layer. But go too heavy, then that means you just have to fix it, and that stinks. Okay, so I think that's it for the jacket, and also for the strap. That's something I can do later. So now we can look at and see what is it that we can work on that could kind of, you know. Now, I did have this color right here. Let's see what color this is. It's a dark gray. And I think I could use this to kind of darken this window. And I'll do this like kind of fading dots over here. Kind of darken the window a bit. And I could always make sure I don't overdo it. And then over here. So now this is kind of like sketching, right? You know, you're just kind of sketching it and bringing it more to fruition, right? And Liz, how you doing? Another member. Thank you so much for being a member, Liz. It's great to see you all the way from Staten Island. How are you? Another green name, so that's always good to see. Thanks, Liz. So very cool. Michael says Astral, he was 18 when they just changed the drinking age to 18, so it wasn't him. Okay, that's true. So that's good. So you're cleared. So that's good there, sir. So I'm just getting kind of the idea that there's something on the other side of that window, the door. And kind of making things look a little bit cleaner. It's a little fuzzy on the edges. But you know there's something going on the other side of that door. Same thing here. Mr. Giovanni, how's it going? Great to see you, sir. All the way from Texas. How are you? So glad you're here. Thank you so much for hanging out. An amazing YouTuber and miniature artist, miniature painter. Just incredible. And thank you so much for hanging out, sir. Really appreciate that. And thank you so much for the super chat, sir. Really appreciate that a lot. Now down here, we're going to definitely make this darker on the other side of her jacket. Then right over here. And it's like reinforcing the architecture, right? And again, it's just showing that there's something going on outside that window. Maybe it's a platform, right? But there's people out there, you know, that kind of thing. And there's this light here. I can just de-emphasize that. And then there's this kind of cast shadow. from this ledge here. There we go. And Astral says the dark patch on the LHS glass is a reflection of the man to the right. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's true. Very true. Yes. And then there's stuff over there, which is cool. And since I have this dark color, I can bring this in just a little bit, just to lower the energy here. And here, I can come in with this color here. Michael says, it sounds like you have your airbrusher up today. It may be. I did have it down earlier, and I did push it up a little bit. I'm still at 20 psi, and but maybe I do have it up. That's pretty interesting. I didn't even pay attention. There we go. So now you see how I'm going to kind of reinforce the architecture a little bit now. And so I want that straight, right guys? So make sure we get that straight. One thing about architecture, if it's wiggly, you know, and not straight, it looks weird. So I don't want my art to look weird. There we go. And I'll wait till that's dry, and I'll give it another shot just to make sure. So, you know, you want to, definitely don't want to have your work not be architecturally sound, right? So it's important consideration. So what's your next airbrush you're working on, sir? Love to hear that you're doing a review on. That's Mr. Giovanni. There we go. So now I learned my lesson, and I'm much straighter this time. I don't want that dark to go into the hair, so I'm going to do perpendicular by the hair. And perpendicular and not parallel. And over there I can do parallel. So now I'm getting those leading lines that photographers like to call it. Oh, the new infinity. Very cool. Very, very cool. So we're looking forward to that, sir. And we know it's an honest, unbiased opinion. So that's why I love your reviews, Giovanni. And that is the... and what's the name of your YouTube channel one more time, Mr. Giovanni? Don't you worry. You be honest. And I respect that, sir. Spaghetti Miniatures on YouTube. Definitely check that out, everybody. Astral says he's working on a Keystone theme again, but instead of Apollo, David, like the last one, it's going to be Marilyn Monroe. Oh man, that's great. Oh, I can't wait to see that, Mr. Astral. Love your work, by the way. Okay, so now we are going to work up here, and let's see here, get these magnets out of the way. Just clean this up a little bit. And this is all gray, like a warm gray. it gets a little darker over here towards the corners and kind of lightens up. See how we do that? Give a feeling of light moving in the space, which is important. Yeah, that's why I really respect your videos, Giovanni, because you tell the truth, even if people don't like to hear it, you know. And but that's what people need to hear. Need to hear the truth. Right in here, there's this little gray area, which is the floor. So I do have a stencil to cover her. And let me see if I can get that. Yeah, this will do right here. Well, no, that's not the floor, is it? Nope, that's just the... So I need the other part. That just basically covers her. And let's see here. I know we have it here. Just hers cut out. And I can put that there, and this way I could spray it without worrying about the floor. It's just that little corner there. I know I have it here. It'll just be her totally cut out. No, look at that. We don't have it. So I can cut that out with this one right here. I don't see why not. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to move her aside. And then we're going to bring in my little mat here. And what I want to do is just this little thing here. And I'm going to get my little blade. Where is it? Here we go, right there. Michael says, okay, you all good people, time for him to go and get some shut-eye. Not sure if he's going to go to work or not. Oh man, take care, my friend. Have a great night. And it's always great to see you. Thank you for being a member, Michael. And thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate your time. Only 19 more days and then full-time painter. I'm looking forward to that for you, sir. I'm just going to pull this. There we go. I know, a lot of work for this, that little thing, but I don't want to get overspray on her jacket. That would be, we worked hard on that today, you know. Oh, the Ennio Morricone music on Gio's. Oh yeah, like almost like the good, bad, and the ugly kind of stuff. Okay, so this little spot right there. More importantly, I don't want to get it on her jacket. So I can get overspray on the dark of the door, who cares, right? So let's put this here, and we're just going to go ahead and spray this. Now it may not be perfect, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and lift it up and see how good or bad it looks. Oh, that's pretty much what we want. There's just a little thing, like right there. And there's a little cast shadow on the door. I think that's from the dude over here. There we go. See that little cast shadow there? Looks like there's a little cast shadow going down here. And then right here, we have a cast shadow coming down on this door here. See how it's just getting some, you know, and at first I thought I was too dark with those doors, but as I come in with the shadows, it kind of lightens up, you know. And Astral said we had a vinyl LP of all the spaghetti movie classics and he used to learn to play on electric guitar. That's cool. That's very cool. Do the shadow underneath there a little bit. See, little by little, things are starting to shape up. And we got a little bit of a corner shadow right here. And we can make little color adjustments and things like that. That's fine. And, you know, make the architecture a little more straight. We can do that, right? So there's, but I just want to kind of start to establish some of the environment a little bit, the lights and darks. There we go. So right here is where I'm going to crop it, right? So, you know, if we look at this, this is probably as far as you're going to see it, like right there. And I really like the composition. It's a little out of balance over here, so that's okay, you know. Hindsight's always 20/20. So I might make, you know what I'm thinking of doing? Putting some color lights over here, kind of to balance the composition. So there's different things I can do, definitely. So now what I want to do is I just wanted to kind of establish the background a little bit, not go too crazy. You know, we can definitely work on making that a little brighter. But I want to work on the shadow underneath her lip there. And as you can see, if I zoom in, it's really not the color I'm looking for. So let's go ahead and work on that. I'm sure those lights would be slightly yellow with age, Tim. Sometimes, yeah, if it's an old subway, definitely. It would probably be kind of grungy, right? So that's true. Sometimes you're lucky to get a new subway. You know, they have some new ones. But some of the old ones, like the ones that I rode on in art school and high school, man, those were really bad. Those were from like the 50s that I rode on. Of course, that was the 80s, but they had subways from the 50s that were still in circulation at the time. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out how to mix this color underneath her bottom lip. So let's make that happen. And I'm going to go ahead and find that color. It's a beautiful color, I'll tell you. And you know, you wouldn't really think of this color. But you know what's amazing? It's very similar to the color of the jacket. Very similar. And so I'm going to go ahead and actually use that color. It's close enough. So I'm going to clean out, because I had the dark color in there. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that out well. Because remember, when going from a lighter color to a darker color, balance it out with some graffiti. Hey, that's a great idea, Mr. Dwayne. And Liz says New York City in the 80s must have been magical. They didn't make the movie The Warriors and also Escape from New York for no reason, Liz. That's pretty crazy, but in the early 80s, it wasn't too far from the truth as far as how scary it was. So once I went ahead and cleaned it out, now I'm going to put some water through it. Remember, Ed Koch was our mayor, God rest his soul, but there were a lot of bad actors doing whatever they wanted back then. And now we'll go ahead with that nice bright color. And we're going to check and make sure that it's correct. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to spray this. Get rid of any of the darker color that might be prevalent. And that's good, you know. I think it's a nice light color. The Warrior, I'll come out and play. Yeah, that was down in Coney Island at the end. And I think that was like the end train went all the way down to Coney Island back then. Isn't that true, guys? Think about it. I was living in New York during that time. I wasn't in high school yet. See, now I'm really bringing that beautiful color. Really loving it. And then we have this beautiful color kind of losing energy as the light turns under the chin. Now the trick with painting is that you want to make sure that the energy is dissipating slowly, like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. It doesn't go from hot to cold right away. It happens slowly. Same thing when things go from light to dark. A lot of times it goes slowly. Dwayne says, went to New York for a couple of weeks in '89. What a difference to Cali Coast. '89 is when I was going to National Academy School of Fine Arts up on 89th Street between Madison and 5th. And yeah, I mean, it was better then than it was in the early 80s, but it wasn't great. But yeah, I can imagine the culture difference, right? That's for sure. So I'm dissipating some of the light over here. And then making sure I'm getting, you know, what colors over there. Oh, you were married 2 years in '89. Oh, okay, so you're already married for 2 years. Wow. Yep, I was going to art school, studying with Harvey Dinnerstein, living my best life. It was a beautiful time. Mr. Air Todd, how's it going? Great to see you. Yes, now that Mr. Todd is here from San Diego, it's definitely time to start the party. So glad to see you, sir. And we can bring some of this darker color, the septum of her nose. And then we definitely have to go pinker, but we definitely can lower the energy on the corners of her lip here. And as I start bringing in volume and different energy levels on her lip, we can start getting her likeness. But likeness only happens when all the pieces of the puzzle are in there, not before. So you don't think of the likeness, you just think of getting things in order and in making sure that's when things are in order, that's when things start, all the pieces of the puzzle start falling into place. And remember, when things go from light to dark, unless it has to do with the molecules of the item, so like in the hair, it's sort of a chestnut color in her hair, so there'll be a lot of chestnut color in the dark. But also as it gets darker and darker, that chestnut color will go away and it'll be replaced by a dark red. So remember that. And now, you know, we've been working on this area. Maybe we can erase some of the hair here. And we have this aggressive eraser. And so that's cool. Oh, Liz says she was 6 and doing the best she could in '89. What were you doing when you were 6? Probably hanging out, playing with dolls, that sort of thing. Getting down with your bad 6-year-old self. And I'm just going to pull out some of the lighter color here. Remember, when you're erasing, you just want to erase super light. You can always erase again. So same thing. You know, you don't go too dark with the airbrush, right? Going to kindergarten using crayons. That's it, you know? That's something. It's good to be young, Liz. There we go. So now I'm going and kind of working on the corner of her eye here. Do I have any overspray on the lips? No, I think I did pretty well here. So a little bit more energy here at the retrobicularis oculi fat pad between the eyebrow and the upper eyelid there. Just a little bit more energy there. Kind of curl this down here. Okay, let's see. All right, so Now what I want to do is I want to come in with a really kind of blushy color, a very transparent glaze, right? I think that would be a good idea. Just to hit that, just the tiniest little bit right there. And so now I'm going to, like, I'm just using one airbrush today. I wanted to show you all that you don't need a whole bunch of airbrushes to have a good workflow. So again, we're going to a lighter color, so I'm going to clean out my airbrush. So I'm just spraying water through it, and then I'm going to wipe it, then I'm going to spray water through it again, and then wipe it, and then we're going to find out, you know, what that warm, that really kind of transparent pink, how to mix that color together. And so I'm going to move her aside for now. Show you, and then come in here, and I'm going to get some of that water, spray it through again. And since it's such a dark color and it really will affect that light color, I'm going to remove the needle. And I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do is just wipe that needle clean, and also take my fingernail and go towards the point, and I'm just going to pull that. And then I'm going to take a Q-tip and then I'm going to dip it in water, and I'm going to really get in there, and you see how much I can get out, you know, thinking that it was clean enough. It definitely isn't. Now it's starting to get clean. So now, and let's go ahead and get rid of anything that might have been in there. And this is how you pretty much stay with one airbrush during your painting session. You don't need a whole bunch. You don't even need two. It's nice to have, don't get me wrong, but not everyone has that luxury. Also, the cap's going to have some paint on it, so you want to make sure you clean that cap off as well. Mr. Astral says his aunt sat him down with her watercolors when he was 6. She was ordered to babysit, and she found a great way to keep me sit down. Oh, how great is that? So she basically got you into art, huh? God bless your aunt. That's a wonderful aunt right there. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and find that really beautiful pink. And it's a light pink, don't get me wrong. That is a beautiful light pink. So let's see that. You know what? I could think, nope, let's mix it. So it's a red orange, definitely. Almost red. Fire, and no, like, it's a really beautiful kind of salmon color. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and mix that color. Alright, so now I have the percentages and everything. So I need a red orange. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. Do I have a red orange? This is pure red, and we'll do red and orange together. Nope, I'm almost out, so we're going to have to, yeah, so I have to order more of these little bottles. Okay. So if you're mixing a red-orange, you want to put your orange down first because red's going to be more powerful. So you can see just how much red it would take to kind of shift that to where you want it to be. See, that's going to be rough because that is not diluted with the 4021. And you see how easy it was to put just the tiniest little bit of red in there to shift that orange. And now we can even put more orange in there. Tone says everyone makes him feel ancient. You can never have too many airbrushes, Dwayne says. That's true. That is true, sir. Yeah, that's... Every year we get older, Tone. It's horrible. So now I have that color, and I ask myself, is that... So rather than fight that orange, this is what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to put some orange in here, and then I'm going to put a tiny bit of this into it until it gets to where I want to. See, it's a lot easier to have the weaker color as the dominant in the mixture. And now I'm almost there. Just the tiniest little bit. And now that's the color I'm looking for. So I pre-mix my colors when they're not runned out 2-to-1 with the 4021 or 4011. That's why we drink our green juice and eat our fruits, so getting older can be a pleasure. Yes, so true. Astral says he'll be 62 in 5 weeks. God bless you, my friend. So we can't wait to wish you a happy birthday in 5 weeks. Now what we're going to do is mix our next color. Make sure I got this right. And again, you want to mix the dominant color into, little by little, into the less dominant color. I can't find my plastic palette knife. It stinks because I'm really, you know, attached to my supplies. And when I can't find them, it's a little disheartening. So I'm just going to use the back of the paintbrush again. That's close. Maybe just a little bit more red. Yeah, that looks good. And then what I'll do is I'll dilute that nicely, and then we'll do some dusting on her face. Okay, may be a little dark, but it's a glaze, so I'm going to go very lightly and transparently on that. There we go. Bring her back. Brad says he was 62 when he started Tim's classes. Very cool. And, oh, 62 on Memorial Day for Tone. Listen, look at that. 2 guys are turning 62. That's great. And so I'm going to just check on her to see how this looks. I'll put my reference over here. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. See that kind of blushy kind of look I'm trying to get? Okay, so feeling good. Now, let's translate this over. Further away, lighter to spray, right? Dwayne will be 58 on Memorial Day. Wow, that's great. Happy birthday, guys. Be late, early birthday. And now I can kind of just put that little bit of blush on her nose there. The further away, lighter to spray. A little bit of blush, and then some of that color on the bottom lip there. And a little bit on her fingers. And our hands are very pink. All the nerves. And we can see we can slowly get dark here and then bring in that hair. And that will look good. You're the first person I met with the same birthday. Wow, that's cool. And Liz says that she was thinking that she thought it was wrong that it was 69, but yeah, 64 rhymes a lot with more things. Oh, we talking about the Beatles song, right? Right here, just kind of dust this. I love the pink on the fingers. It really works. But you see how that was a red-orange. It wasn't pink. So that's interesting. I thought it was 63. I'm loving the energy in this model. The strength that she has. I love it. Make sure, even though I want to go even stronger with that color, you have to worry that you don't go too wet, right? Because that poses a new problem. Right in here, we have a little pink. And then right on the edge of this knuckle here. And then we can always go in and rework it. So that's about it. Now, maybe I can lighten around the lip here. There we go. I'm going to look at the nostril here. Remember, you just want to erase the paint, that outer layer. see if I can get a little more of a less aggressive eraser. Dwayne says, same here, Tone. I do have two good friends, and one's birthday is the 29th and the other's the 31st. We used to rock Memorial Day weekend every year. How cool is that? That's good memories, right, Dwayne? So as you can see, now we're getting to the point where we're developing her a lot more, which is fun, right? We're getting to the fun part, I think. Then we can start coming in with, you know, some highlights and stuff like that. Don't remember most of them. That's a good thing. Good times, huh? And then we have to do the retrorbicularis oculi. No, I'm sorry. This is the depressor anguli oris coming down, which is a muscle that makes us frown. And Tone says he had a graffiti artist friend whose birthday was the 25th, and they would do a piece starting on the birth. Oh, that's great. That's pretty cool. Let's see, so we'll go with this guy. Get a little more exact of where the eye socket is. But it's nice, now I can start getting a little more tighter, you know, with her expression. And now I can paint her septum and kind of get that shape better. And I'm really loving her expression, you know. The painting is really about that encounter that you're having with her. Tone says the good old days. Yeah, man, that's great that you guys did a piece on both your birthdays. So I'm just going to lighten this up because we have to do the zygomatic bone as it comes into the maxilla. So this shape of the light, we have to make sure we get that correct. So usually I come in with opaque colors and everything like that, but this I'm going to be working pretty much in transparents. Just for me to show that I could work in transparents, not just in opaques when I'm doing portraits. It's not better, it's not worse, it's just a different way of working. And you can see it's just as effective, but what I like about it is that with opaques you kind of lose that glow, right? And so that's Astral says, yeah, Tim, she says I'm calling the police. She may be, right? That's funny. See how I'm just slowly lightening that up? I could have done that with white paint. But then all of a sudden everything changes because now you have opaques. Keeping it transparent, I'll be able to keep that glow underneath, which is really advantageous for photonic realism. Now if I go too far, I can always dust this down. That's okay if I went too nuts with the erasing. But it might look light because everything around it is too dark. And then when I fix it, it might, you know, when things are around it a little more softer, it might help. So you don't make those big decisions so early. You wait, you know. Oh man, look at that. It's 11:27. You know, when the end of the live stream comes up fast like that, it's always a pleasure. It means you guys are the greatest, you know. I mean, it went by so quick because of the wonderful conversation. So thank you for that. But I'm liking it. I think, you know, I like the fact that I'm staying, well, I'm opaque down here, but definitely in her face, and her hands, I want to keep things transparent because of that glow. When we were talking about the stained glass feeling, so with the white, so this is the board, same board here, and this has the 6000 on it. So you see that I still maintain that whiteness, that brightness of light that's coming from the back. Ah, thank you, Tone. Tone says, cool show. I appreciate that, my friend. Thanks for hanging out, man. Brad says, thanks for another great feed, Tim. Good night, all. Thank you so much. And Dwayne says, good to be here again. Good to have you, and great for all your wonderful knowledge and your friendship, Dwayne. It's always a pleasure. But I know that things get busy, you know, that's for sure. But it's always great when we could hear your expertise and everything. Astral says it's been a blast. Thanks, Astral. Always a pleasure, my UK friend. Dwayne says, looking great, Tim. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you for that encouragement. So on this side, remember, you have a light side and a dark side. So this light side can't be as bright as the dark side. So I will be darkening this side because the light has further to go and it'll have less energy. So that's my thinking involved there. And of course, the depressor anguli oris is over there. Yeah, the depressor anguli oris, which is the frown muscle. So we have to put that in there. And all these little things is what gives her that natural quality. You know, the anatomy. So next week we're going to actually go in and start doing some highlights and, you know, working on the hair, you know, resolving some of the background, maybe working on, you know, her clothes there, her coat, resolving this strap. So we do got more to do. So we're at 11:30. Thank you everyone for hanging out. I actually started the live stream early. That was fun. So thank you everybody. We did over the 2 hours. So I hope everyone has a great rest of the week and a great weekend, and look forward to hanging out coming up. So take care, everybody.